Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavidvaram Satgurum Brahmavidvaram. Everyone please join. We'll chant Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniം Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിनीം Amba Tvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhi Pullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Tutra Vetraikaparnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha Sarvo Panishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Geetamrutam Mahat Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om. Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to class. We are seeing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, right now. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, we saw last week how important it is to study this chapter. Specifically, 16 and 17 is what we were talking about. Because what it does is it allows our way of life to match our goal of life. It allows us to practice the values that will fine-tune our personality and allow the knowledge that we're studying to take root. Or in words that actually apply to us, it allows the knowledge that my nature is happiness and bliss to actually translate into experienced bliss. So it allows me to experience it not just on, to know it just not just theoretically, but to actually feel what is being talked about. Or in technical language, it would be, it allows me to get mukti or moksha. We saw the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. We saw what has happened so far in in the Gita. We saw where this chapter fits and why it's important. We also saw how some people are born with the starting capital of the Devi Sampat, the divine will. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna lists 26 qualities that makes up the divine wealth, the Devi Sampat. We saw 5, I think. Abhayam, Sattva Samshuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi, Dhanam, and Dam. Before we continue, I got a long list of questions to answer before starting today's class. So that will also serve as a recap of content that we had covered last week. First question. So I'm going to read out the questions and then I'll answer them one by one. Is it possible that in this life, seeking ultimate happiness is not the goal for everyone? Perhaps I don't want to pursue that goal or do everything necessary to achieve it in this lifetime. So, is this question something everyone here has heard before? If you don't have it, it is a question that is common. Well, our rishis begin the teaching in this whole tradition by telling us there's something called sukha prapti and dukkha nivritti, the pursuit of happiness and the striving to remove our sorrow, right? And these two things, sukha prapti and dukkha nivritti, the pursuit of happiness and the effort to remove sorrow, is something that everybody is always engaged in. Not just everybody, every being also is always engaged in. So, an ultimate sukha prapti is where there's no dukkha, means the ultimate gaining of happiness is that state where there is no more sorrow. That state of ultimate happiness is what is referred to in our Shastra as moksha. So everybody, whether they know it or not, is looking for that state. Every single being is looking for permanent happiness. Nobody's looking for temporary happiness. Everybody's looking for permanent happiness. The question then becomes whether they're pursuing it actively or not. Right? So the active pursuit of moksha may not be there. Definitely, so many people exist who don't pursue moksha actively, right? Then there's some people who they're like, okay, well, I know that there's this thing called moksha. I'll think about it when I get older, So they're not also pursuing it right now in their mind. Then there's some people who are like, well, it sounds nice and it'll be really nice if I get it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to do things to get it also, you know? And then there are those who actively do something and are ready to do whatever it takes to get this moksha. So you'll find different people at different stages of evolution pursuing happiness differently. So it's very possible that moksha is not everybody's goal, right? Meaning, deep down, it is what everyone is looking for. But people don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I want moksha and I'm going to do what it takes, right? We wake up thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I want to do those things for happiness. Behind the lines of everything we want is ultimately, I want to be happy. I want to be permanently happy. So it's a technicality, Is it possible that it's not everyone's goal? Yeah, it may not be a goal on your list, but it is what you really want. And it also is very possible that you're not ready to do everything required to get it. Mostly everyone is doing that. So I hope that clarifies. Moksha can be your goal and you may not know it. And it may be your goal and you may not have the intensity of desire to pursue it also. So depending on where people are in their spiritual journey, they'll fall in different parts. But our rishis never say you ought to, want to actively pursue moksha. They allow everybody to be exactly where they are and to come to it on their own at their own time. Okay, next question. Why is it important to chant before studying? Why don't we simply study the meaning of each verse? Okay, this question is coming based on the fact that we start the class chanting and then every time before we study a verse, we chant it, right? The chanting of our shlokas is not like the singing of songs that you find out there in the world. The shlokas are designed with a certain rhythm. They have an exact number of syllables. In the syllables, there's an exact place where the vowel is long versus the vowel is short. So there's a precise rhythm in all of the shlokas that we chant. And when we chant it, the rhythm of the shloka has the power to organize our mind because of how organized it is, right? And therefore, it helps to prepare our mind for the knowledge that we're going to be hearing. So it has an important role in making our mind ready to receive the knowledge, right? If you don't chant it, you wouldn't get the same benefit because the state of your mind is not the same as when you did chant it. Then the other thing is, why will you give up the opportunity to give up the benefit that it brings by not chanting it when you just could? It's like a 5-second extra step, and it brings a world of difference of benefit, right? The other thing is on this, once you're in an authentic parampara, meaning you're studying in an in an environment where there's a sampradaya that has passed down this knowledge over years and years, you can have shraddha in the fact that it is important if it is being done, right? But that is why it is done, because it helps to prepare our mind. The other thing is that you may say, well, I don't know Sanskrit, so what is the point of chanting it? And take it from the meaning point of view. Well, the person who is talking about the verse, they need to chant it, they need to say the words, and they need to think about it, right? Then there'll be others also who would benefit from a meaning point of view. So that is one. Other is, the hope is that, eventually one day you're inspired to see the Sanskrit words directly. Because honestly, it is less than 10% of the meaning that comes through in the translation between Sanskrit and English. There are some things that just cannot be communicated in a language that is not the original language, right? So we chant and we invoke the power of the rhythm of the verses to do something to our mind to allow it to receive the knowledge. Okay? Okay. Next question. You mentioned that some people are born with some of the 20 values. How do we know if we possess certain qualities or values in the first place? The way to know is to introspect. It's to observe yourself, right? And you will know if you give thought to it, and we all will have some to a certain degree, the fact that you're here means you have at least some of these qualities to a certain degree. It's just a question of degree and which ones and all of that, right? But actually, a super technique is when you spend time with great people. I'm not talking about Elon Musk kind of great people. I'm talking about Mahatmas of our tradition. When you spend time with these great Mahatmas, if you had a false impression that you had a good quality, well, that false impression goes away because you come face to face with the reality of the situation of how many qualities you actually have. They reveal to us our durgunas. It's like in their presence, like there's a magnifying glass held up to your durgunas, and you're like, oh, I thought I had less of this bad quality. But the other side of it is in their presence, the gunas also develop. All the great qualities also become developed in their presence. So you stay in satsang, you keep reflecting on the values, you be in their presence as much as you can, and you get more of these values in your life. Okay? Okay. Next question. How do we determine if something is truly right for us? And how can we distinguish between fearlessness and ignorance? Okay. The only answer is you have to remove selfishness from the equation. That's the only way. Where there is selfishness, our decision-making capacity is clouded. The moment selfishness is removed, there is clarity on what to do, right? Whether something is good for us or not, it hinges on whether I'm thinking about it considering only my benefit or considering the benefit of my family, my society, the world, like that, right? There's a personal question following that. We can talk about that after. Okay? All right. Okay, so that was all introductory questions. Now questions regarding the values that we saw. Abhaya was the first value we saw. Abhayam is fearlessness. The question here is, what is the difference between courage and fearlessness? With courage, one of the ways you can think about it is with courage, the object of fear is present, but you still do it, right? But when it comes to fearlessness, the object of fear itself dissolves because fearlessness is deep rooted in something more fundamental. Fearlessness essentially is born from an understanding of oneness in the universe. It's born from an understanding that there is no second thing in this universe. Fear only comes, you can give thought to this, fear only comes where there is duality. Where there is a second thing, there is fear. If there's just me, there's no other person or thing to be afraid of. As soon as there's a second person or thing, fear will come. So fear goes away when we realize there's no other to be afraid of. Right? An example might make it more clear. It would be considered courage for a child to go into the basement or downstairs to the kitchen in the dark. Right? They're scared, but they still go. But it is fearlessness when you go because you know that there is nothing over there of danger, right? There is no other to be afraid of. Now, if you go there and then you hear a sound, now you get scared and now you need courage to continue, right? But it is fearlessness where there is nothing to be afraid of in the first place, right? So we need courage to face life, but Mahatmas face life with fearlessness, right? And so we use our courage and hopefully one day it turns into fearlessness. But fearlessness is rooted in something more fundamental. Okay, now Sattva Samshuddhi. How can we train our minds to be more pure and less prone to wander? Is it solely through continuous meditation so that even when my mind wanders during meditation, I just persist until I improve? Or as you mentioned in class, should we instead cultivate daily disciplines that naturally lead to a purer mind? Okay, purity of mind is gotten by a multi-pronged approach. In fact, well, first of all, purity of mind is connected to the way we live, right? And purity of mind is gotten through daily discipline, meaning doing the way we live our whole day, then also through specific sadhanas like japa and meditation and all of those things. And the practice of values also makes our mind pure. So all the list of values we'll be studying, the practice of any of them makes your mind more pure, right? Then going to work and working with the right attitude, or going to school and studying with the right attitude, all of those things lend purity of mind. So purity of mind is not something you get by doing a single thing, but it's a multi-pronged approach in the way you live your whole life. Okay? And in terms of what the best daily disciplines to follow are, or you should create your own, everybody's in their own stage of life and in their own stage of sadhana, development. So there isn't a best. We don't have a tradition that tells you everybody must wake up and pray 2 times a day. We don't have that kind of thing, right? We have a whole range, variety of sadhanas available. Based on your temperament and your development, you choose the ones that are best suited for you, and they will change over time also, right? So there isn't a one piece, what no, one stop shop for sadhana, one thing fits all thing. Right? Okay. Often you mention we have duties, but what are those duties? This is the $1,000,000 question. Actually, all of this is reflection on it's key reflections on the values that will be coming up also, right? Duties are responsibilities that come to us unasked by virtue of our position in life, by our position in society, position in family, etc. Right? For example, if you are sitting on a bus and a pregnant woman walks on the bus, right? Your duty to getting up for her to sit will be dependent on where in the bus you are sitting. Right? If someone is sitting in the first seat, that person has the first duty to get up and offer her the seat. The person in the last seat has a lesser responsibility to get up and offer it to her. Now, if obviously you have a bus full of teenagers who just don't care and all of that, then I mean you have a responsibility to get up and be like, please come. But the point is, by our position, our duties are determined. The other way of saying it is, our duty is determined by our identity. This is one of the key things that Arjuna failed to understand. His duty is determined by his identity. On the battlefield, Arjuna is a warrior. He's not a family member. So his duty is not to his family. It's to the country. It's to dharma, right? So our identity is what makes our duty clear. That is why the day we get married, our duty changes. The day we have a child, our duty changes. The day we retire, our duty changes. Right? Our identity in social settings that are different will also dictate our duties at the time, right? And Shastra is supposed to guide us on what our duties are. You cannot find out about dharma, means your duty, outside of Shastra, because the world will tell you whatever it wants. True or false? Your boss will tell you it is your duty to work whenever they want you to work. Shastra doesn't say that. Then society will tell you it is your duty to take care of your grandkids so your kids can be free to work. True or false? Shastra doesn't say that. Right? So in satsang, we slowly learn what it is that our shastras are saying about our duties. Now, okay, fine, I don't know what my duty is. Even if you're not sure if you're doing your duty, the attitude of doing what you're doing should be filled with selflessness, right? I'm going to try and get clarity on my duty. And until then, whatever I think is my duty, I'm going to do it selflessly, considering the welfare of those around. Next question. Does Jnana Yoga refer to only the knowledge of the Gita, or does it encompass any form of knowledge we choose to pursue? For instance, does it require engaging in satsang every day, or does it simply mean studying something daily? There are three parts of our personality. We have a body, physical part of our personality with which we do things. Then we have a mind, or the emotional part of our personality, our heart. It's called the heart in philosophy. Then we have an intellect, the thinking, calculating, rational part of our personality. In Bhagavad Gita, we study, there's a learning on how to integrate these three parts of our personality, how to refine these three parts. The first is karma yoga, where we use our body to do actions with greater awareness and with the right attitude. Right? That's the first 6 chapters. The next 6 chapters deals with bhakti yoga, where we refine the mind or the heart, right? Where we come to have an appreciation and love for Bhagavan as this entire universe, as that which sustains me and the universe, right? And finally, Jnana Yoga is the third section of Bhagavad Gita, which is about chastening the intellect and using it to guide our physical and emotional self. And with that sharp intellect, now we try to intuit the reality. So the focus in Jnana Yoga is the knowledge of the self, of me. So in Gita, you find all three. And usually in any section that you're in, all three will be touched on. Because even though you'll have sections that are predominantly one or the other, they're not watertight. They all go together, right? So this quality, Jnana Yoga Vivastitihi, is supposed to give us clarity of vision and understanding of the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. But this Jnana Yoga should not be confused with Jnana Marga, the path of knowledge, where you study all three, right? So the study of Gita will be, in the way we're studying it, will be considered Jnana Marga. We're taking the path of knowledge. But we'll study Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Okay, I think this is the last question. Yes, it is. This is on Dhanam now. So we've seen Abhayam, Sattva, Samshuddhi, Jnana Yoga, Vyavastiti, now Dhanam. The way you described Dhanam makes it sound essentially like charity. What then is the difference between charity and Dhanam? I had said last week that people translate dana as charity, and that is the worst translation you can find, but there is no other word. So just use dana, right? The main difference between the two is the attitude. In charity, the attitude is I am doing someone a favor. I am the giver and they are the taker. In dana, the attitude is I have the opportunity to pay a debt to pay back for what I've gotten in abundance. It's an offering of gratitude, appreciating what has been given to me by society, by this universe, right? And here, I feel like uh, they're the giver and I'm the taker. They're giving me an opportunity to contribute, and I'm taking that opportunity, right? So the key difference is the feeling that I have in my mind when I'm giving whatever it is that I'm giving. The external action may turn out to be the exact same, but the internal attitude is what is different, right? And what we give may also be different. Someone may give old clothes and call that charity, but if you don't consider that an offering of gratitude of what is important to you, then you'll go and give time and all of those things on top of that also, right? That you find valuable. So this is the key difference between the two, right? Okay, then we saw Dhamma. Dhamma is sense control. And this will come over and over again. So we will see it over and over again every time. Now we continue. Let us chant verses 1 to 3 again. I will, because we chanted it lead and repeat, I think this time we can all chant it together. So if you don't have Bhagavad Gita in front of you, well, please get one or open it online or whatever, but you should have the verses in front of you. Together. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yajnascha Svadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyamakrodha Tyaga Shantirapeshunam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luptvam Mardavam Hrirachapalam Tejakshama Dhriti Shaucham Adroho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Devim Abhijatasya Bharata Bhavanti Sampadam Devim Abhijatasya Bharata. O Bharata, these are the qualities that make up the Devi Sampad, that are indicators that a person is on their way to moksha. They're indicators that happiness is your destiny, so to speak. The next quality is yajna. When you say yajna, one of the first things that comes to mind is people holding, something and offering something into a fire. And that is the traditional meaning of yajna. But that is not the meaning over here. As you develop the qualities, the Devi Sampad, what happens is you start to conserve more energy. And that energy that is conserved can very well dissipate if it is lost in other things. You know how when you wake up early and you finish all the things that you had to do, with the remaining time, it is very possible to just lose it. You woke up early, but it made no difference to the day because you ended up doing the same thing anyways. Or you end up going back to sleep with that extra time. It's very easy for that conserved time to dissipate. If you're efficient in something, you lose it in distractions and all of that. So this is where yajna comes in. Yajna is loosely translated as sacrifice or worship of God. But in Bhagavad Gita, when we talk about yajna, it is referring to whenever we do our kartavya karma, meaning our duty, and we dedicate it to Bhagavan without craving for the results. Or in simpler words, work is worship, work is dedication, right? Then that is considered yajna. In yajna, the only motive is welfare of all beings, not welfare of just me and my family. Meaning, I have a great talent, so it is my duty to use that talent so that the world can benefit. It is not my duty to just use that talent to make money for my family. The action may be the same, but the attitude is what is being talked about. When you go to work thinking, hey, this talent that I have is going to benefit the society, that is called yajna, right? So we turn our actions into yajna, and then that helps us to make sure we direct our conserved energy more properly. We'll talk more about this when we get to tapas also, right? So how to practice? Well, we can start by doing this. In the morning, before you go to work or before you go to school, you tell Bhagavan. You literally tell Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do it for you. And if you don't like the word Bhagavan, no problem. Oh, universe, whatever I'm going to do, I'm doing for you. I'm doing for the benefit of all. You just say it. Whether you believe it or not, you just say it, right? Then you come home. And at the end of the day, you say, whatever I did for you. Again, whether you believe it or not. You fake it till you make it, kind of thing, you know? And as you say it and as you think about it slowly, then you start to remember that while you're working itself. So it's not just a thing you say in the morning and in the night, but it starts to pervade your actual thinking. And eventually, it will culminate in an understanding that I'm not even the one who is doing. That's a different topic, but that is where this thinking comes. So this is yajna. Next quality is svadhyaya. Svadhyaya is self-study. We do svadhyaya by doing reciting, like you can chant and all of that, or by understanding, by thinking about the meaning, or by introspecting, meaning you try to understand not just what the scriptures are saying, but you try to understand yourself through the scriptures. There's a difference, right? Reflecting is okay. Understanding is okay. I want to see what it is saying. But introspection is, how is this present in my life? Introspection is like looking into the mirror of my personality, looking into the mirror of the Shastra to see my own personality. This introspection on whatever it is we're studying, it helps us to take stock and see where we are and where we're headed, what we have done with our life. You can ask yourself, what have I done with my life in all these years? Have I developed this quality of equanimity that Bhagavan is talking about? Or, what did I gain by doing this action? What did I lose? Where was I? Where do I want to go? Am I actually doing what I really want? Those are the kinds of questions. And to figure out, everyone's always looking for indicators of progress, So in this introspection time, you ask yourself, do I feel more happy and more peaceful? Or when I have a negative outburst of something, does it go away more quickly? Like that. Do people seek my company out of joy or out of obligation? Those are things, we could think about. But it requires honesty to recognize our virtues and our vices. Okay? In Self-Unfoldment, Puja Gurudev tells very clearly about introspection. He says every single day you should introspect, detect daily. You sit and you play the whole day through and you detect all the things that happen. Then you negate ruthlessly all the negative things that were there, you pull them out. You substitute wisely and you live happily. I think I left out one, but I'm not remembering it, right? This is the way in which we do introspection. And Gurudev says there how when you start this process of introspection, when you start Svadhyaya, you'll feel like you're a saint. You'll be like, oh yeah, today was such a good day. I did this, I did this. I don't think I did anything wrong. But as you do it, you come to realize, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then you feel like I'm becoming a worse person. But really, it's not that you're becoming worse. You're just becoming more aware of what was already there. So, and the beauty with introspection is it's not supposed to make us feel bad, huh? Introspection, I I consciously didn't say A because people are laughing at me for saying A. When you introspect and you realize a negativity in yourself, it is like discovering rotten strawberries in the back of your fridge. If today you don't have time to deal with them, eventually you're going to make sure you take it out of your fridge, right? So once you realize it is there, you make it a priority to remove it. And this is the power of introspection. But let me tell you, Swadhyaya is it always comes after you have already studied with the Guru. Swadhyaya is not based on self-study. There's nothing like YouTube Swadhyaya because this is a Samaksha tradition. We learn face to face with the Guru and then we do reflection based on the Guru Parampara. Okay? How to practice? You know, you just set aside time and you just do it. That is how you do it, right? You make time and you try and then you figure it out. If you are a chick, by the way, 50 years ago, this term was coined and it means Chinmaya Yuva Kendra. It doesn't mean what it means today, right? It means when I say it. Chinmaya Yuva Kendra is the youth wing of Chinmaya Mission and they're celebrating 50 years of chick this year. And so every month they're doing a different sadhana, and one of the months is introspection. So if you're a chick, then you're lucky you'll get a whole month to learn how to do svadhyaya. And if you're not a chick, well, too bad, so sad. No, over time, this it'll keep coming up also, and you start to introspect and it will develop. Okay? All right. Next quality is tapas. Tapa will come again in detail in chapter 17. So we will see it only briefly now. In chapter 17, we will see body tapas, speech tapas, mind tapas, within body tapas, countless things, within speech tapas, countless things, within mind tapas, countless things. So we'll see that when we get there. Okay? But what exactly is tapas? In Taittiriya Upanishad, tapas is described as the highest austerity. Right? Tapas will be loosely translated as penance. And again, these English words just don't communicate what it is trying to say. Right? Tapas comes from the Sanskrit root tap. Tap means to burn. Right? So what happens is in tapas, we are burning impurities. Anytime, okay, when you go to the gym and you lift weights, I mean, I don't know too much about this because I don't go to the gym, but for people who do, or the one time where you have to carry something heavy and then your muscle starts to burn because it's not used to the thing you're doing, that burning, that feeling of burning is what happens in the mind when you're doing tapas, right? Going to the gym is not called tapas, right? Because tapas is specifically engaging our sense organs, our body, our mind in thoughts of God or in the direction of our spiritual evolution, right? Um, and it stops being tapas when it stops burning. I mean, when you go to the gym and then you do like 20 reps, eventually that stops being difficult and then you have to add more things, right? In the exact same way, when we do tapas, eventually it stops burning. But tap is to burn. Guruji says such a nice thing. He's like, the opposite of tap is pat. Pat is to fall, right? So tapas will be the opposite of pat, which is to rise. And he says tapas is any attempt to rise above our fallen state. Such a nice definition, isn't it? So this is what tapas is. In Atmabodha, which is one of the introductory texts, it starts by describing the things that happen when you do tapas. Tapobi kshina papana. Our papas start to wane, reduce. Shantana. Our mind becomes more peaceful. Vitaragina. We start to reduce our likes and dislikes. The strong likes and dislikes, they start to become less and less, right? What exactly is tapas? Okay, you're talking about tapas, but what am I doing, right? Well, tapas is any spiritual sadhana that we take up that is uncomfortable or that causes burning in our mind, right? It includes dhamma, it includes svadhyaya, it includes all of that, right? But the discomfort that is happening when it is being done is what makes it a tapas. And at that time, you're not supposed to give up. The other meaning of tapas is concentration. Like when you put a paper out in the sun, it's not going to burn. I mean, sometimes the sun is so hot that you feel like it's going to burn just by being out there, right? But the paper doesn't burn just by being in the sun. However, if you take a magnifying glass and you put it on top, the convergence of the sun's rays now has the capacity to let that paper catch fire, right? So when you engage in tapas, what happens is your energy becomes concentrated. Then you can channel that concentrated energy to other sadhanas. So tapas is like a really wonderful thing in our spiritual journey. How to practice? Well, one thing you can do is don't become a slave of comforts, because the number one enemy of tapas is comforts. When you're sitting in that couch and you realize that it is time to go and do japa, well, who is going to win? Not the japa that is difficult, but this couch that is my best friend. I mean, it makes me feel so nice. It's always there to support me. So the greatest enemy of tapas is comfort. Don't become its slave. And the other thing is to take vratas. When we take a vrata, we make a commitment that no matter how hard it is, I'm not going to give up. And that helps us stick to the tapas that we have chosen. Swadhyaya tapa arjavam. Arjavam is translated as straightforwardness. Straightforwardness is along the same lines of what we were talking about last week, where there is a oneness in your thoughts and your words, right? So I had asked this question, what will happen if other people can hear your thoughts? And everyone's faces said it all, right? Because our thoughts and our words and our actions are different. Straightforwardness is where you say what you mean and you mean what you say, right? Or the other meaning of Arjavam is simplicity of heart, right? There's no fakeness in the personality. They're a straightforward person, where they don't pretend to be one person, one place, and actually they're another way. Tulsidashi says that person is simple and straightforward, who has no thought of deceit at all. And actually, you cannot tell how great a person is when they really are great. The greater they are, the less they exhibit their greatness in your face. You really have to pick up on it like that, right? They're not going to show you their their greatness gets revealed without their words, right? Simplicity of the heart. How do we practice? Well, first of all, because people are not straightforward, we make assumptions that nobody is going to be straightforward. right? So we don't treat each situation as it comes. We generalize, right? Oh, people are so bad, so I'm going to be like this with people, right? No. One of the ways in which we're advised to develop Arjavam is to deal with each situation as it comes, right? So you present yourself straightforwardly and you let the situation present itself straightforwardly. Then you just say what you actually mean. What other way is there? Right? Now, how to say it nicely is the next question because there's an art of saying things that are hard in a nice way, right? That will come in chapter 17 in Bhagavad. Ahimsa. Ahimsa is a word. Is there anybody here who has not heard the word ahimsa before? Oh, okay. No, you've heard it. You've just not remembered. Ahimsa is a very popular word. It's a Sanskrit word, but it is universally used. Right? Ahimsa is translated as non-violence or non-injury. And ahimsa talks about an attitude of not wanting to cause any kind of harm to any kind of being in thought, word, or deed. Um, That is why things like the classic example given is a surgeon will cut somebody open, but that is not considered himsa because the attitude is not one where I want to cause pain, but it is one where I want to help. Right? You may have to cause physical pain, but the attitude is not one where you want to inflict pain. Ahimsa is the opposite of himsa. Sanskrit's so cool, so easy. You put a in front of something and it becomes opposite. Be careful, if you put a, then it reinforces the meaning sometimes, right? If you say ahimsa, it means a lot of himsa. So please say it correctly. Ahimsa is non-violence. To have physical ahimsa, it requires sensitivity. And um, ahimsa is not just supposed to be practiced towards human beings in our tradition. This is another example where Sanatana Dharma is different in morality from other religions. For those who don't know, I was born and brought up in Ghana. And so in Toronto, right next to the ashram, there was a Ghanaian store. And so I used to go there occasionally to buy some, like local food, ingredients and all. And so one day I was going to buy what would be the equivalent of a pepper sauce, like a spicy chutney. And I looked and the ingredients all had fish and shrimp, like meat. So I told it's a mom and pop shop. So you know the person and you speak to them every time you go. So I told him, I was like, I can't, can you get me a vegetarian one because I don't eat meat? And he looked at me and he was like, but why? God made animals for us to enjoy. You know, the it's a different way of looking at life. They have morality, but their morality is different. Our morality extends to animals as well, right? So forget that. It also extends to birds and trees and nature, right? And the principle is, it is true that we have to live and we have to live off of nature because it is life that sustains life, right? But we're only supposed to take what is required for our life. We have no right over anything more than that. And this applies to every single thing. Just see, right? In the animal kingdom, I haven't seen this, but I've heard descriptions of it. If a lion goes and hunts an elephant, right? The rest of after that day, for a few days, even if there are elephants right around the lion won't touch the elephants because he's full and he's eaten his food and he doesn't take more than he needs. He's taken the one elephant and that will last him until he's hungry again. So that is a very uh it's a simple principle that is naturally followed by the animal kingdom. They take only what they need, right? And this doesn't apply to only animate beings, but also inanimate, like wasting water and electricity, right? Wastage is considered himsa. Right? Even something simple like kicking open a door or flinging your shoes across the room. It is considered himsa because those things will get destroyed more easily and they will create more waste. So you're taking more than you need from nature. So many social problems will dissolve, dissipate, disappear if we follow this simple basic thing. For example, there will be no human rights hashtag. There will be no animal rights hashtags. There will be no what is it? PETA hashtags. There will be no save the environment. None of that because people will just naturally live like that. Even words are dangerous. Words cause tremendous himsa. So even watching our words, look at how much himsa Shurpanaka's words caused. She went and told Ravana, I saw a beautiful princess, and I think that she deserves to be only with you, not with that hermit. Her words, uh, look what trouble they caused after that. They were not true also, and so much trouble they caused. So anyways, our words have the power. Please, everybody here knows how much himsa our words can cause. We've all been there, we've all done that, and we've all been the recipients of that also, right? So in practicing ahimsa, we watch our interaction with people, with beings, with things, and we watch our words very carefully also. Right? But attitude is most important. Jurisprudence also takes this into account. What was your intention when the harm was done? It is not considered murder if someone is killed unintentionally. Correct or wrong? So jurisprudence also considers intention. Okay. How to practice ahimsa? We become aware of how we're interacting with the world, from people to beings to resources, and we try to live in a way where we can take the least and cause the least. Do you know the solution to the environmental problem is not alternate energy, but reduced consumption? That is the only solution, right? And practicing ahimsa helps with that also. Side topic. But this attitude of not wanting to cause harm comes when there is a sense of oneness and love. You want the other to be happy. You don't want to see them go through any pain, right? This ahimsa comes naturally when we can develop love for people and beings by virtue of the fact that they're part of Bhagavan's creation. Tulsidashi says, no? Siya Rama Maya Sava Jagajani. Karo Pranam Jori Joga Bani. This whole entire world I see as Sita and Ram. And because of that, I do pranams to this entire world. That is his vision, and therefore his action follows suit. Okay, should we do a couple more and then go into discussion? Let's do one more. Satyam. Satyam is truthfulness. As you know it, you speak it. And it is similar to what we just saw, Arjavam, straightforwardness, right? The example Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya gives, okay, well, see this example. If there is, no, I think Swamiji gave this example, I can't remember. If you have a tank of water here, and you have another tank of water here, Satyam would be tantamount to the water from this tank coming from here exactly as it is to this tank, without any variation. You may speak words that are true, but the sentiment with which you say it will change the meaning. See this, right? If I go and I tell Dave, Swamiji was asking where you are, right? Versus Swamiji was saying, where were you? The tone of my question communicates something different each time. Satyam means when I am saying something, I am not only communicating the words, but also the sentiment with which that thing was told. You see? We change the meaning of things by putting our own masala in when we communicate things to people. So Satyam is having the integrity to say things exactly as they are and as they were meant also, right? So how do you practice it? Well, just be truthful. I mean, how else do you practice it? Right? But you also understand the consequences of what happens when you're not truthful. And again, this will come later on. So we'll reflect on this topic when it comes after. The next one is a favorite of a lot of people. It is akrodha, or not non-anger. How many people here know somebody who has never gotten angry? What? You've gotten angry before? Really? You don't know a single person who's never gotten angry? Well, then, we are doomed because how do we practice this quality? Akrodha is translated as no anger, but it doesn't mean never having anger, right? It is the ability to calm down if someone hurts us. So we get angry, but then akrodha is becoming unangry after that. Unangry is not a word. So the anger will come, right? Or if the thought of anger or annoyance comes to your mind, the capacity to remove it. So anger will come, but when it comes, you have the alertness to calm it down and the presence of mind to realize before it explodes into something uncontrollable. And the test of whether you're developing this quality is how much time it takes for your anger to reduce. You know, before, if you would get angry, it would take you like a whole day before you're like over it. Then slowly over time, it's supposed to reduce. And eventually it should be that, well, when we get to Kshama, we'll see. There isn't even a thought of anger for there to be something to forgive. Right? So it's a whole journey. But Akrodha right now is the capacity to reduce the anger when it comes. And the fundamental way to practice this is to reduce our desires. There is no other, I mean, everything else will be a superficial solution, but because anger is triggered by desire, the only way to reduce anger is to reduce desire. You observe, Swamiji was just saying this last night. Every time you get angry, there must have been a desire behind it. So you ask yourself, what was the desire that triggered my anger? Most of the time we say, my spouse made me angry, or my child made me angry, or my parent made me angry. No, your desire made you angry. You don't just rephrase that and stop blaming other people. It is your desire that triggered the anger. Right? Okay. I'll tell one last thing and we'll pause and we'll pick up this anger topic next week. Bhagavan Sri Rama demonstrates for us how to handle anger. In Ramayana, when he makes friends with Sugriva, the deal is that he will help Sugriva to remove Bali, and in turn, Sugriva will help him to find Sitaji once the monsoon rainy season is over. So Lord Rama sticks up to his side of the deal, and Bali is removed. Then the rainy season passes, and Sugriva is so engrossed in the enjoyment of the palace that he forgets his promise to Bhagavan. So Bhagavan Ram now uses this anger of emotion, and he tells Lakshmana, go and remind Sugriva about his promise, and tell him that if he fails, that same arrow which killed Bali is still here with me. Means Sugriva should know what he's doing is not right. But he tells Lakshmana, go tomorrow. Because when you postpone being angry, the mind has the capacity to calm down and speak pleasantly. So here's a life hack. Most communication happens via email or WhatsApp. So if you get an angry text or an angry email, wait 24 hours before you respond. Because otherwise, well, you'll just be wasting your life. You have to remember the reason. Now you might say, well, sometimes the person makes me angry right in front of me. Well, then what am I supposed to do? Well, then you pray to Bhagavan for more time in your life. I don't know. No, you take a few breaths and you try to calm yourself. But you have to remember that the anger is harming me, which is why I don't want to get angry. Do you know the best revenge is actually not expressing your anger to someone who's expecting you to get angry? Have you seen that? Like, you should be getting angry, and then the person looks at you and they realize you're not getting angry, and they get scared. Like, if you're supposed to get angry and you don't, your child will think something is wrong. Like something super wrong is going to happen. Okay? The best revenge is not expressing your anger. Anyways, I'll leave you with this thought that in in one of the in Vairagya Shatakam, or no, Niti Shatakam, there's a phrase that says, "What is the need for external enemies if you have anger?" Anger is our greatest enemy. Okay, I'll pause here. I really was trying to fly through the qualities, and I thought I would at least finish verse 2, but I should know better that it doesn't happen like that. So we're going to pause here because I do want everyone to have an opportunity for discussion. I'll send you all into discussion group for maybe 7 minutes, and then we'll come back after that, right? Please someone write these questions down. Discussion question number 1. What is the most important reason to practice values? Question number 2. What makes it hard to practice values in our lives? And question number 3. What is your favorite value so far? Not one that you necessarily have or want, just literally any reason why. Which of the values we've seen so far is your favorite? Okay, so you will be sent automatically into your breakout room, and we're gonna have 3 rooms of 6 or 7 people. Oh, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Satgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.